Good evening, everyone. This is the regular meeting of the Cohasset School Committee, and today is Wednesday, November 5th. We will call to order with a roll call vote. Lance Stile is not present. He's away on professional matters. Mr. Evans.
Evans here.
Mr. McClellan.
Present.
Mr. Scorbuto.
Present.
Jan Leskey present. We have a quorum, and we will call the meeting to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance if you're able to do so. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. We will start with public comment, and that is for those of you who are with us online. That can be done via the chat feature on Zoom, and we will keep our eye on that. We do have one guest in the audience. I'm not sure if they have a public comment or not. I know, Mr. Spear, you're our guest. Okay. And we always do appreciate your input and thoughts. And if school committee time isn't a good time to reach us, you can always reach us by email in between meeting dates. So seeing no public comment, we will move right into our invited guests, inviting Mr. Andy Sims to the table.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Just have a prepared statement here and so that I stay on track. So good evening, Ms. Leskey and esteemed members of the school committee. Hope you're all doing well. By way of introduction, my name is Andy Sims. I'm the head coach for varsity softball here at Cohasset High School. And this upcoming spring 2026 will be my fourth season as head coach of the team. I come before you this evening to present a gift to the high school of a new equipment shed for the softball team. The shed is located at Freedom Field at the Barnes Complex on North Main Street. That's our home field for varsity softball. I'm here seeking a vote from the school committee in favor of accepting this gift. The equipment shed is a result of several years of volunteer work from families of Cohasset High School softball players, past and present, including myself. Quick backstory: the raw materials of lumber, etc., hardware were provided as a gift by Hingham Lumber of Cohasset, and the professional assembly was provided as a gift by Dennison Construction of Hingham. And we just feel very fortunate to have such supportive local businesses and good relationships in the community. Actually, I brought a couple pictures here that we can hand out, a color one and a black and white, just so you guys know what's happening, what you're voting on. Oh, great. Oh my gosh. Wonderful. Fantastic. Thank you. Even better. Okay. So the new shed is now 100% finished, including high quality exterior paint, hardware, and locks. And it stores probably roughly $5,000 worth of softball equipment. A pitching machine, an outfield fly ball machine, several sets of catcher's equipment, and everything else that goes along with the team. Basically, it is great. It is with great optimism that I present this to the school committee and hope that the gift will be accepted. And thank you for your time. And I'm happy to take any questions that you have at this time.
Thank you. Great presentation. Mr. Evans, do you have any questions?
One, this is wonderful. I mean, especially, it's amazing. Just sit through a lot of meetings where there's a lot of processes, and it's nice when it's like, oh, got it done, and here we go. Like, it's refreshing. But to kind of backtrack on that, can we accept this gift? Because it's on town land. Should it be a select board that accepts the gift? I'm not sure if we have. I think we can accept it in principle, but I think officially, I'm not sure we're allowed to accept it. Because it's on Freedom Field. It's not on school property.
Maybe both
because I think that because it's specifically for the girls softball team,
Wonderful.
I think that that's definitely within the realm of this committee, and then maybe also the select board, because we don't own Freedom Field, but the purpose of it is for one of our teams.
Understood. Great. So that was one of the process questions. So thanks for bringing this to us, and thanks to everyone who got this done so quickly and efficient.
Mr. Squatrino, any questions or comments? Mr. McClellan?
No, thank you, Mr. Sims. Appreciate it.
And I have no questions, but I just want to highlight the community involvement in this project and how everyone came together and did a little bit for a great end result. So thank you. Do I have a motion to accept?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. Roll call vote. Mr. Evans?
Corey Evans, aye.
Jake Squatrino?
Aye.
Mr. McClellan?
Aye.
Jen Leskey, aye. Thank you. So accepted by the.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
Thank you.
I hope you have a great season.
So exciting. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Right, we will continue to move on with our superintendent update.
Thank you.
Superintendent Jones.
So thank you very much, and I'd like to start this evening off by congratulating our middle school. This week, the Cohasset Middle School was ranked number 9 out of all middle schools in Massachusetts by US News and World Report. We're incredibly proud of our middle school. Our staff is deeply invested in providing an outstanding experience for our students, and our students are also committed to learning. We also have very supportive families, and I'd like to thank and congratulate all involved in this recognition. I'd also like to thank the community on Monday night at the special town meeting who voted to support the encumbrance of funds for the school from the school stabilization fund to move the Osgood roof project forward. That project is being done in collaboration with the MSBA. And as a reminder, we'll be back probably just after the new year as our OPM and our design firm have more concrete cost estimates because they will be 60% done with their design documents. And then in the spring, we'll have actual costs in anticipation of work beginning actually the day after school gets in June. I'm also hoping to use this section of our meetings to provide you every once in a while some updates on different aspects of the work we're doing that's directly related to the strategic plan and our district goals. And one goal that we have this year is to refresh our professional learning committee and include more staff engagement. I'm happy to share that this group has already met twice as a full committee and once as a subcommittee. We've hit the ground running and are actively working to bring a teacher-led professional learning day to life on December 22nd, so we can highlight the expertise and passion of our Cohasset educators. We've also started to design a staff survey that we hope will lead to a lot of learning about what our teachers' thoughts are about professional learning to inform our planning for 26-27 school year. And I'm very excited about being able to work with this great group of people. It's a collaborative group of administrators, teachers, and ESPs to ensure our professional learning plans meet the varied needs of the district. And we find some balance between the tension we have with a lot going on that we need to do and never enough time. Additionally, our strategic plan looks to build opportunities for intergenerational and cross-school collaboration for our students to improve their communities. And this week, we had 2 great examples of that. On October 27th, all grade 5 students rotated through engaging activities presented by high school students who are Safe Harbor ambassadors. The activities reinforced empowering messages of Red Ribbon Week, which is an annual substance awareness and prevention week. And these messages included how to help a friend in need, refusal skills, coping skills, and dangers of substance misuse. Additionally, 2 students from Mr. Ford's freshman wellness class, Delaney Lafon and Charlie Tabaniski, presented their civics project on coping strategies at Deer Hill. Their topics included defining stress and learning to identify feelings, and students learned how to implement valuable strategies such as breathing, journaling, taking a break, and reaching out for help. We're very proud of all of our students, the high school students and the Deer Hill students, for engaging in this work together. Additionally, it is playoff time at Cohasset High School, and we have a lot of teams who have made it to the postseason. The golf team, their season's actually over because time change makes it difficult to keep playing late into the fall. But they wrapped up their season with a 7th place finish in the MIAA sectional tournament and a 5th place finish at the South Shore League tournament. It's the first time they've made it to the postseason in quite some time. The volleyball team, they secured a number 11 seed in the tournament. They already won their first game against Sandwich, and they are traveling to Greater Lawrence Tech later, I think Friday, to play in the second round. Cross country is traveling to Devon's, Mass on Saturday to compete in the Division III divisional meet. The football team secured the number 1 seed and will host Leicester on Friday night here at our field on the Alumni Field. So anyone who's interested in cheering them on can join us. The field hockey team has secured the number 3 seed in Division 4, and they already won their first game as well. They won their second game, and they are advancing to the Elite 8, where we will host the winner of Hopedale and East Bridgewater. That day and time is yet to be determined. The girls soccer team secured the number 5 seed, and they will host Gardner this Thursday, so tomorrow, on Alumni Field. And the boys soccer team is the number 17 seed, and they opened the tournament with a win, and they are going to play Maynard on Thursday, but in Maynard. So lots of things going on for anyone who's interested in checking out some of our athletic teams. And if sports aren't your thing, I would invite you to come watch the 5th grade Deer Hill Circus on Friday night. So you can watch the circus at 6 and the football game at 7. It's the Deer Hill Circus is one of my favorite events in the community. It's a great opportunity for students to learn new skills, try new things, take risks that are safe. And it builds a really great community among the group of students who are in 5th grade at the time. And finally, I just want to remind all families that this coming Tuesday is no school because we will be celebrating Veterans Day.
Any comments or questions?
No, thank you.
Mr. Scarpino?
I'm also looking forward to the circus on Friday because my brother is in 5th grade.
Awesome. I will see you there.
Post.
Mr. McLeod?
No, thank you for the updates you've been sharing. I will note that we were number 1 on the South Shore.
Yes.
Middle school. We both mentioned 9 in the state, but number 1 on the South Shore.
Yes.
Thank you for all that great news and positive updates. I think I was really struck by and probably following off of Mr. Sims' gift, that the community engagement piece is so huge, knowing that Safe Harbor is connecting within the schools, that our high school kids are connecting with our younger children, and that sort of idea that community starts small and gets bigger and it works out within circles is just lovely to hear. I think that it is super enriching for both the older students and the younger students to start to develop those relationships. Thank you.
Why don't I just jump right back in?
Sure.
Apologies if you mentioned, did you mention the homework symposium or homework?
I did not.
Okay.
At Deer Hill
Yes.
tomorrow at 9:15 or 9:30.
I've got it for 9:15 tomorrow.
Yes. Deer Hill PSO is hosting a donuts and discussion around homework, which is part of their school improvement plan. And Principal Sullivan will be there, as well as several staff members. And I think Mr. Scapoletti, Principal Scapoletti from the middle school, is going to be there. I have another meeting, but we'll pop in after. But it opens up conversation that continues from last year around homework expectations, the purpose of homework. It should be very fruitful. Thank you for the reminder.
And there are many schools, I think, grappling with that issue and trying to find the sweet spot within that issue. Thank you, everyone. We will move on to our teaching and learning block, starting with Dr. Scollins.
Good evening. So in front of you, the first thing we're going to talk about is the middle school pathways exploration policy. So the state has asked us to come up with a policy for middle school pathway exploration. And it's required that all school districts create a policy that informs and exposes middle school students to high school career technical education programs and other students to high school career, and other career pathways. And those key components include providing students with information and opportunities to tour those career technical education schools, connecting this exploration to students' personal academic and career planning, and sharing information on district and regional school options, and to use some sort of tool for that. And we use Mass Hire 360 as our program that we work with students. So they just want to make sure that all schools are offering those opportunities. And so we've already had our visit from South Shore VOTech, and our students have had the option to go over. And then Norfolk Aggie also came in, and those would be the two schools that we would be partners with. So this is your first read of this policy. And so I will, I did not include the actually code for that, but I will on the second read of that.
Questions, Mr. Evans? Mr. Squatrito? Mr. McClellan?
No questions. Thank you, Dr. Schoen.
And my understanding is, just to simplify this for anyone listening, that this is really what we've been doing all
We have
along,
all
which is
along.
in compliance with the state regulations, but it just codifies it and updates it. So thank you. And I think that the VOTech schools and the agricultural schools are really wonderful options for children. And I'm glad that we're giving all of our students the opportunity to explore
I do too.
explore
I
that
do too.
alternative.
Absolutely. And then the second is just an update. So Mr. McClellan will remember back in 2022, there was a proposal for a bill on the floor of the House for looking at literacy and creating parameters and guidelines around literacy for K through 3. Kind of went silent, but it came back and without too much notice to many of us, and it was passed on the floor of the House, Massachusetts, on October 29th. And so it will put parameters around what kind of resources you can use in your school. There are pieces around making sure that it's evidence-based literacy instruction, grounded, I'm taking it right out of the bill, grounded in scientific research methods and demonstrated through well-designed and well-implemented studies to produce significant and positive effects on student learning outcomes. And if you move to any programs, they need to be state approved, but there is a waiver for piloting new programs that are not listed. So I'm digging into it. It's just recently been passed on the House floor, but it has to go to the Senate. But for your information, it was passed 155 to 0 on the House floor. So it will be an interesting process to see what happens next.
You have
Mr. Evans?
a short memo just to send around to all of us about what changes are out this will affect us. I don't know if you,
Well,
It's
it
really
doesn't
early,
affect
but-
us yet because it hasn't gone to the Senate. So this is really just a heads up.
okay, gotcha.
And I don't know when it's going to the Senate yet.
Okay,
So,
gotcha.
but as soon as I have that information, I will.
Wonderful. Thank you.
I can even share with you the actual.
The whole thing? No,
the
thank
whole
you.
thing.
It has shifted.
It has changed, it changed on the floor too,
Yeah.
so
Okay.
they could change
Until
it.
it's finalized,
Great.
it's hard to predict.
That's,
Yeah.
yep, thank you.
Other questions? The
I
committee?
know a lot about it if you ever want to ask questions. Just put that
Wonderful.
Okay, Mr. Stapleton.
Thank you. Share my screen. I just have a few, two brief updates tonight. The first is the data sharing that I share each time that I'm here. October was a busy month. Sorry.
We're gonna invite our CPAC reps up to the.
Oh.
I see that.
Thanks for being here, guys.
October was a very busy month as we settled into the year here. There were 30 total meetings in the month of October. There were 7 annual reviews at elementary level, 3 reevaluations, 2 initial evaluations. Out of those 2 were from family. One student was eligible, one was not eligible. There was 1 private school evaluation held, and then 1 independent evaluation. And then similar numbers trending at the secondary level, 7 annual reviews, 2 reevals, and then 3 initials. There was the 3 split there where 2 were found eligible, 1 was from MTSS, and then 1 was from family, and then 2 private resident cohesive resident evaluation meetings were held, and then 1 independent evaluation. And then as the out-of-district coordinator, I chaired 4 out-of-district meetings in the month of October. Pivoting to an extension of Superintendent Shannon's update on professional development. It's been a lot of talks about professional development recently, and I just wanted to highlight some specific PD opportunities for the Department of Student Services. So since I was a teacher here, so years ago, we partnered with Seaside Consulting to provide professional development co-teaching for our co-teachers within the district, and that's something that I've continued this year as well. And so there's going to be 3 full days of PD for through Seaside Consulting, which really does provide high quality training for our staff members. One of those, so there's broken down into 3 kind of categories here. The first is continuing what we've done in previous years, which was like an overview training for staff, for co-teachers, for both the general education teacher and the special education teacher. We're, kind of always like reassessing how those relationships are going, how the practices are going. And so Shannon Perillo is our consultant who's worked with the district now for 8 years, I would say. And she works directly on like working with staff on co-planning, on differentiation, what the co-taught model looks like, and how we continue to build within that model. She had originally worked at the upper levels, so 6 through 10, where we have the co-teaching, but now she's really focused at Osgood and Deer Hill, which is great as we think about that vertical alignment and making those structures and supports similar across the district. So Shannon will be here. Her first day is actually tomorrow, Thursday, so she'll be at Osgood tomorrow. And the teachers really like to see her again and just to connect with her each year as they talk about just specific problems that they're having or issues, and then how to problem solve and troubleshoot. And she brings like a sense of expertise, which is really reassuring for them.
Mr. Stapleton, would you mind supplementing this with just a general explanation of what co-teaching is for people?
Yeah, so co-teaching is an instructional model for special education where a special education teacher is paired with the general education teacher, and they're providing specialized instruction in like the general education inclusion setting, so the B-grid for like IEP services and understanding. And so at the middle high school, our model really is English classes and math classes may be co-taught. It's tricky with like personnel and just like amount of time during the day. So right now we have different there's pairs of co-teachers at Osgood and Deer Hill, 1 general education teacher and the special education grade level liaison that will co-teach depending on student IEP needs. They're really looking at the ELA, the reading and writing component of special education, and then also the math pieces. So those are like the main focuses. And so, I can add it to, I think it's on the website too, like the list of the pairs of co-teachers. But it's great to just establish those relationships and then build upon them over years, because like the joke is like, it's like a marriage eventually where like they can, really work so closely together, within like the classroom setting to support student needs. And then really it is a service delivery model for students that receive special education services. So again, Shannon will be here tomorrow. The teachers are excited to spend some time with her, and I really empowered the teachers now in these like later years to like make the time what they would like how they would like to use it. So in the past, it was always Shannon would come in, she would do a quick observation, she would meet, she would provide feedback. Visit tomorrow, some of the staff have asked for her to sit in and like on a co-planning session to talk about how to differentiate during the reading block. Like how do we kind of think about the students that we have in front of us and really tailor the instruction to their needs. So I'm excited to like kind of turn it over to them in a sense of like run with it, take what you need, and then use the time wisely while Shannon's here. Because Shannon always has great ideas too when she's here, and so like that piece will be allowed, like can happen through conversation.
Is she just meeting with the co-taught classroom teachers, or is it like kind of meeting with all of that?
So it will be like the 2 core, like
Got
the
it.
grade level liaison, special liaison,
Got it,
and the
okay.
teacher. But that's a perfect segue. Shannon is a great resource for everyone, and so she's coming back on the half-day PD day in January to offer to at the elementary level a workshop on differentiation of instruction and what that looks like. So that will be open to more teachers too, which I think that's been an area for years now where people are looking for more like deliberate PD on like how do we differentiate, how do we still hold students to a high standard, whether they're special education or regular education or need some form of tiered support. And I've always been trying to empower people to like, yes, we hold a high standard for all students, but it is okay to differentiate, whether that's how students demonstrate what they know, and it doesn't always need to be tied and mandated through an IEP. And so Shannon's coming in, and part of her work on Thursday is to meet with Megan Greeny, the team chair, and kind of like lay that work or that map ahead for being here to provide for more teachers that have that availability. Just to hear from someone who has done it before and works in other districts across the Commonwealth too. So we're really excited for that day. And so that's a official workshop that she's been putting on, which was new. She's never done that, and she's never been a resource for general education staff before. But I just thought it was a great way to kind of build out her role and to use And then the third day, recently, Principal Gaudette and Sullivan and I met with Bob McArdle, who is a former special education teacher, administrator. He's a retired, educator who works for Seaside Consulting. And in my reflection and as I prepared to work with Seaside this year and kind of map out how I have used them as an outside resource, I really came through conversations, and this came up through feedback and surveys, through strategic plan as well, and looking to provide like deliberate and direct PD for our ESPs, because that's something that we're committed to doing, but is an area of growth, I would say, for the district. And so we met with Bob, and we really just like talked through like the role of the ESP here at Osgood and Deer Hill, how they support general education students, special education students. And we were all left the meeting like very inspired by him. He just like brought this message that like we're all like working collectively like wheels on the spoke to like help students. And so he's gonna provide some overview of like the role of the ESP, and it's really to empower them to work with all stakeholders, whether parents, related service providers, specialist teachers. And so he'll be here on the December PD day, and I'm excited to offer that to them. I haven't sent out a formal message yet. This is the first kind of announcement of that there, but Amy, Alex, and I all left feeling really excited for that day and to be able to provide that for the ESPs at the elementary level. I'd also be looking to expand this in future years too to the secondary level, as we think about quality professional development for ESPs, which plays such an important role across the district. In addition to the Seaside Consulting PD, this year I was able to send 2 of our educators across the district to the Wilson Overview, the 3-day training, which would make them eligible to participate in the 1-year practicum. This is, Wilson Reading System is multisensory specialized reading instruction, really great for students with specific learning disabilities who require that higher level of intense specialized instruction. There had been a push before I was director for getting more staff trained in Wilson. The pandemic halted that. It's a rigorous year-long practicum with X number of hours to meet, working with a very specific student profile. And with some newer staff, that was complicated as, people finish various degrees and things like that. But I'm trying to get us back on track. The South Shore Educational Collaborative, which we are members of, they offer a really high quality great PD too. And so they were able to partner with Fitchburg State to get that practicum going. So I'm trying to lay the groundwork for next year to have some more staff be trained through that 1-year practicum program. But it's great to attend the 3-day overview. You receive like specific materials, and it really again does like a refresher on like what multisensory reading instruction is. Wilson is very specific reading instruction, but it's great to kind of flesh that out as I build that out from a number of our Deer Hill staff are certified and trained in this program, but I'm looking to extend that back to Osgood, which some are there as well, and also up to middle school too.
Are the educators that did this, which level are they at?
So they just did the overview for now.
Are they from Osgood or?
So there was one Osgood staff,
Okay.
and then there was a high school staff.
Okay.
Yep. And so that's something, again, I'm looking to, to both like budget for potentially to support, because there's a financial cost to it.
Okay.
But it was great to get the 3-day overview in for 2 people this school year. Another professional development opportunity. So safety care is a training that's provided to staff that is evidence-based strategies to prevent behavioral crises before they start. It teaches staff how to de-escalate situations safely and effectively. It protects individuals from and staff from harm. The goal is to protect the individual and staff from harm and reduce the need for any physical restraint or restrictive interventions or management. So safety care is like an organization that we are trained in. So there's 3 district trainers, myself, Dr. Jackie Potter, our board certified behavior analyst, and then Caitlin Stromberg, our Cohasset school psychologist. So we are the trainers for the district. And so on the October 10th PD day, we recertified everyone. You have to be recertified every school year or every calendar year. And so we recertified those appropriate staff. And I've gotten a lot of feedback this year. Safety care is great. And I've been training it in for years, really like on how to it sounds very serious, and it is when it relates to physical management of students. And knock on wood, that is something that we avoid at all costs. But it's great because it provides like all these strategies to de-escalate individuals prior to ever even getting close to that point. And so it's really a lot of great practices on how, to work with kids, how to look for antecedents or triggers within the environment, how to set up the environment for success. And I've gotten a lot of feedback across the district that more staff, both general education and potentially special education, are looking to have this type of training because it offers just a different mindset and just a different outlook on understanding student behavior. And I think that's changed over the years and just the population that we serve, especially like post-pandemic too. And so this is a great way for staff to feel empowered and, to work with students directly, to be okay with some, potential challenging behaviors or escalating behaviors, but then how to manage it safely and effectively. And it really focuses on like debriefing with students, keeping families in the loop. And so this training, I'll be looking to offer more initial trainings this year, which I think will help build out the capacity of staff across the district. And then my final professional development update is just special education department based. On the October day, the secondary team chair, who is new this year to us, which has been like one of the greatest assets I would say that we could have right now, because she's bringing a fresh set of eyes to IEP process, forms, how we do things here. And so she reviewed with the secondary staff, I would call it fine tuning of the new IEP, looking at some trouble spots, areas where we could just have collaborative discussion on like, how did this work last year? How can we make improvements this year? She really focused in on a goal of mine as well as accommodations versus modifications and how we implement those within the general education setting and within the special education setting. And staff left like really refreshed from that too, of just some new ideas floated around and also being empowered to try new things, and making sure that we're providing the highest quality IEPs to our students. Again, PD will targeting supporting ESPs. We did some brainstorming about how we can support ESPs specific at the secondary level internally too. We have a lot of great resources, like I've said in previous presentations. And so talking with special education teachers about how can we help in the moment? What are you seeing? What are ESPs reporting they need some support with? And then how do we use our time, wisely to make improvements within in that domain? We're continuing our executive functioning supports, as I typically mentioned at my updates related to the SPED strategies work from last year. We all shared out resources recently within the department, and we have a shared Google folder right now, just of templates and forms and just different strategies to teach various executive functioning skills, from time management to graphic organizers. I'm trying to make a central hub of just various resources for staff to access and then adapt based on the videos that they have in front of them. This summer, 2 special education staff members, Lisa Ripley and Marie Boris, went to a specialized math workshop and really got some great resources on like a scope and sequence of understanding of, when the student has specific learning disabilities, what are like the access points to the general education curriculum, and then how you can use scaffold from there to make sure that they are able to access those curriculum standards. And so I've let them settle into this year, but the goal will be for them to share some of those resources out with both special education teachers and general education teachers to further develop our understanding of what specialized math instruction looks like and how we provide that to students that receive special education services. And then an area that I struggled with last year that again is tied to the strategic plan and providing high quality professional development is empowering our related service providers. So our occupational therapist, speech language pathologist, school psychologists, those personnel that have very unique and specialized roles, empowering them to access different trainings through their own professional organizations, and then allocating time during our PD days to then maybe access those workshops and then work on their own individualized training in their area of expertise. And so that was something that, again, trying to empower across the districts too, staff to identify like what they would like for PD, and then how we can provide it and support it in an effective way for everyone. So those are my updates for November. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Stapleton. And in fact, maybe we could have our CPAC reps introduce themselves, the roles that they fill in the CPAC organization, and anything you would like the school committee to know at this time. If you have any comments for us or any news from your organization.
I'm Jamie Scott. I'm co-president of CPAC. I have a second grader. And I don't really have much feedback. I came in very hot right now, so I'm like.
Well, welcome. We're glad you're here.
Yeah. I apologize for my tardiness. I came from a parent obligation.
Oh, Stephanie Saunders, secretary, making notes over here. I want to say I really, really appreciate all the professional development you've done. And I love that it's kind of integrating into general education, because that, for those of us with a child with special needs, is the goal. Is that we want them in as much general education as possible. So I sent an email this week to you and Amy that the co-taught second grade class has just been like magical for my daughter. Magical. Like, she's so confident. I've never seen it before, but I also pulled back on her IEP purposely to have her in the classroom getting the instruction, because that's so important, I think, for her confidence and self-esteem of peers. So I just want to say that, really appreciate it. I think this is like really awesome, everything you're doing. And then for what I said before, I hope we can have further conversations. The literacy bill was put forward by special education advocates. So I would hope we can all just be part of the conversation. If it does pass and there's a change in the curriculum, I think it'd be a really good opportunity to try to work together on what that looks like for our kids. And I'd love to be at the table personally and respectfully for all of you.
Thank you. Do we have questions for Mr. Stapleton about his presentation, Mr. Evans, or comments?
I've been through now a few of these. My feeling every time is I'm just incredibly proud of what we have here, and the feedback that you just gave exactly. I mean, again, from looking from this table, I see one perspective, and I hear about the efforts to de-escalate. We're seeing that in society, how important it is to get ahead of things, because once if you don't get ahead of things, then it makes it difficult for everyone to act in ways that are productive. And bringing that to the district integration programs, all that. I mean, I'm just really proud of kind of what we have, because I think it speaks to where our priorities are as a district, as a community, and I'm glad you're on the team, and thank you guys for all the work you do as well.
Thank you, Mr. Stapleton. I think your presentation is always instilled a fair amount of confidence in terms of our special education department, which is always improving, right? I just wanted to ask you about the data sharing portion of your presentation. And it's something we see all the time. I just wanted to ask you that whether you have any concerns when we're seeing initials that are arising out of family referrals as opposed to MTSS. Sometimes that may signal to, or could be interpreted to mean that MTSS our tiered supports they're not performing as maybe they should in terms of identifying people, students with learning differences. I'm just wondering if you share those concerns, or if you know of facts that maybe mitigate those concerns that some people may harbor.
Yeah, so I think it's a tricky balance, and like I'm constantly monitoring that. Like the district has an obligation to propose psychoeducational evaluations to determine eligibility if there is a suspected disability. So I think there's like the fine line of like trusting in the MTSS process that students are getting what they need, and then also knowing when as district representatives, we need to initiate that, like the formalized evaluation. I think there are many factors that go into that. Some of the parent requests, like again, and that's why it's important to monitor like the private school aspect. Some parent requests that may pop up as found eligible, the students don't actually attend, so they would never have been through our MTSS process. So I do think those numbers are represented in when the parent requests come through.
I think you've separated those
Yeah.
now, right? So we can see those, because before it was said that could be a factor, right?
Yep.
So I think now there's a box that
Correct.
identifies it.
Yeah, so I definitely think that is a factor. And I think again, one of the main district goals is like that fine tuning of MTSS. So I think it's interconnected. I think sometimes parents do jump to requesting an evaluation, which is like completely within their rights, and we respect that. We honor those requests too. And sometimes like those kids have been monitored, and whether we were close to it, to making that formal recommendation. So I think it's interconnected and something that I'm continuing to monitor, but I don't think that there's a clear number of parent referrals that come through as found eligible versus MTSS being not eligible at that.
So you're telling me you're not concerned about the current numbers right now. And one of those contributing factors may be also because, especially at the early, like elementary stage, so families also obviously have more contact and interaction with their child than the schools do, right? We have it for a certain amount of time each day. And in the case of kindergartners, we actually haven't seen them before that year. So that's another issue, which, we can't get into that yet in these data sharing because of confidentiality, but sometimes that may contribute to it. I'm just thinking as you're talking that, families know their child the best. And so before MTSS has really had a chance to sort of get its proverbial hands around that child's needs, the parent may have already suggested that their student's eligible for that.
Correct. There's always an uptick of requests for evaluations following parent-teacher conferences. Like there are a number of factors that lead into like the numbers and where they fall. I also am continuously monitoring our percentage of each grade level receiving special education services. It's something that I've talked about here before that I haven't fully like organized in an effective way, is thinking about the percentage of students in total in each grade level, the percent that receive special education services, and then also percentage of kids that have Section 504 plans, which is a separate, obviously, process. We are very close to the state like average of each grade level, and I mean, it looks almost like 20% of each grade level. So I think that that's always something that I'm keeping in mind too. And so I don't want there to be an idea that MTSS isn't catching kids when we are within the range of each other districts that in the percentage of students that do have educational disabilities that impact their ability to make effective progress and then require specialized instruction in order to make progress. So I think we are within the range.
I appreciate that. And I wasn't asserting
Yeah.
necessarily that it was failing anyway. I just, I just acknowledged that that could be one interpretation of the data, and I just wanted to comment on it.
Obviously, it was very interesting to learn about all these professional development opportunities. As from my perspective, that's when teachers go to learn and nobody knows what happens there. But I think what Stephanie pointed out and I really enjoyed was this discussion of co-teaching, and I thought about, I've never like interfaced with special education, but having been in classes where that was taking place, how important it must be, and if there's anything I can do to echo that, like, just thinking about having to provide this support, but not doing it in an isolating way, important and meaningful. It's just something that jumped out at me from the presentation and the comments as well.
I'll just say thank you. That was a great presentation. Thank you to our CPAC representatives for being here tonight and engaging. I too am also a huge proponent of the co-teaching model. I think in addition to its academic support benefits, it allows all students to be learning within their peer community, which I think has huge effects on everyone. And as I like to say, a rising tide lifts all ships. So when we are all being taught in a way that works for us individually, we all learn better and our classrooms function better. And I think teachers, being a teacher, I'm going to say I think teachers feel better. So that's wonderful. I'm also really excited about the level of professional development that both you and Superintendent Shannon mentioned. Because it's exciting to continue to grow as an educator. And I think that is one way that we can retain our excellent teaching staff is by continuing to giving them opportunities to grow and to hone their craft. So I appreciate that level of interest there. So thank you.
Thanks, Around.
We will move on to budget resources and governance with Ms. Allen. Oh, that's me.
That's you.
Yeah.
I'm actually gonna do this if that's okay with you.
Absolutely.
Share my screen. So last week I shared with the committee our budget priorities for FY '27 as we start to ramp up to engage in that process for both capital, but really for operating purposes. And this week I bring it to you a second time for any questions and for a vote.
Mr. Evans.
A lot.
Okay.
Okay, so the first couple months on this, like I've been trying to listen quite a bit and just try to absorb everything. And, we've had a lot of really interesting discussions last month. We had obviously a town meeting with other discussions. And as I review this, I think I'd like to take a look at it again, to tighten up the language and to really be sure that these are all pointing to a line item in the budget that's identifiable. Right, so we have, some things like how do we expand the definition of success? I think that's a priority. It's a compass point, but it doesn't really answer the question of where our budget priorities are. We have a lot of sentences in part one that are really all encompassing. But for instance, like we just had from student services, funding that program, can be a very specific thing that we put in these priorities. So I think as we get into the FY 27 discussion, and now that we have a lot of community engagement, the other reflection is, I don't get the sense that the community really understands where our priorities are. So I think this is an opportunity for us to take a look at this again, try to be a lot more succinct, a lot more direct, and try to really make this easier to understand in a more direct way. And I know I'm kind of throwing a wrench at this. I've seen this before, and I didn't really have too many comments because it all made sense. But as I reflected on it more, I think we can do better communicating what this means. That's my broad feedback.
Okay. So may I ask a follow-up question? Are you suggesting, and I'm thinking that this is an overview in my mind. Are you suggesting listing things like, to the granular point of purchasing curricular books for grade 5, social studies, sending people to conferences, this conference on April 12th, so that they can learn about culturally and linguistically responsive teaching. Is that where you're getting at? Because then how is this document different from an actual, like, budget on a spreadsheet? I don't know what that's called, but that's what I'm calling it.
Yeah, great question. And again, I think the challenge that you're pointing to is, like, there's so many things, and there's so many of the things that are priorities. And I don't necessarily want to suggest that we go that granular, but I do think there's broad phrases in here that we can make tighter, that we can make more specific, and that we can tighten up. So that way, every line item we can say, yep, this line item, if we go through the budget, this is exactly compass point 1, compass point 2. This does that. I think we could argue already, but I do think there's a lot of broadness here that we could tighten up. A lot of sentences here are not clear expenditure priorities or operational, budget issues. They're culture, and that's great. But if we're going to have a budget discussion, it should be very much focused on why we're spending the money and how we're spending the money. And I think right now that will set us up for success as we go down the road. So
So
obviously-
how does that differ, budget priorities, how does that differ from budget items? I guess that's what I'm trying to get at, because I hear what you're saying, and I'm just trying to envision. So if you could give an example of how you would change a priority, the name of a priority, into something that isn't a budget line item, but does give the specificity that you think people are looking for, or that you're looking for.
I would love to have the opportunity to workshop it, if that's okay. We have another sort of half hour to talk through it a little bit more with the staff. They're not in the meeting because there is a lot of stuff, and I don't want to take anything out that's important that I don't fully understand yet. So I request that if we can push this off, give a little bit of feedback. My feedback is as stated. I'd like to take another opportunity to look at this and try to clean it up and make it more directive. And kind of bring it back to the committee. And if it ends up this way, fine, but it's long. It just is. There's a lot of words, and I think it's hard for somebody who's coming in cold to take a look at that and then understand exactly why we're doing what we're doing. So yeah, I'll leave it there.
Mr. McClellan?
May I offer some thoughts that might at least partially address Mr. Evans' position? Is that right?
Of
Speaking out of
course,
order.
yeah. As long as it's okay with you, Mr. Smith.
So, thank you. This document has always been an overview. And I actually think that it makes, so I have a few specific edits that I wanted to suggest to Superintendent Shannon and the rest of the committee tonight. One of those was to title it FY 27 Budget Priorities Overview. Because I think that people might take away like, that Mr. Evans' comments kind of reflect why I want to title it that way, because I think people might expect a less overarching description of what the priorities are. They might want more specifics. And then, so in that one way, I disagree with what Mr. Evans is saying, just because it is meant to be an overarching sort of, well, an overview of what our priorities are. Having said that, I do agree with Mr. Evans that it's very wordy and that it's kind of daunting, and I don't know, maybe people get through like 1 or 2 sentences and they just, like, I don't know. So I had some suggestions on reducing the language. Brevity is not usually my strength, so I offer this just because I'm constantly trying to look at my own work in this way. So I was trying to identify things that we didn't necessarily have to have in there, because again, it's an overview. With regards to compass point number 1, the clause that about halfway through the paragraph, it begins "and trade books." I suggest deleting "and trade book" through responsive, and then adding an "and" before continued, and then placing a period after PK through 12 and striking the rest of the language there. It follows, there's like 6 words afterwards. That is one suggestion. With regards to compass point 2, I suggest striking the second sentence altogether. It begins with "because" and it ends with Tier 1 MTSS priority. And then in the next sentence that starts "with regard to wellness," I suggest changing or replacing R2 and "our priorities are to expand." So replacing R2 with "include," and then changing the language to reflect that change, right? So the syntax is, include, expand, it would be expanding. Our definition of success: building a strong culture of belonging, supporting staff and students, and engaging high-level academic discourse, and continuing to prioritize integration. So that was my suggestion for number 2. For number 3, I suggest, and again, these are just my thoughts, so take them or leave them. After, in the second line down, it begins with "community as we continue to." Strike "build an authentic sense of belonging by," change "creating" to "create." And then in the next sentence, it starts, "this work may require," strike "new technology applications and/or," and replace it with "new." So the new sentence would say, "this work may require new resources to support our efforts to streamline." The rest of the sentence is the same. And lastly, I propose in compass point number 4, striking the entire first sentence, and in addition to the word "these" in the beginning of the second sentence, and replacing "these" with "resource-based." So the new resource number 4 resources priorities would begin, "resource-based priorities include focusing on capital budget." I'm just trying to, I understand why the other information was in there, just trying to condense it a little bit to try and make it a little bit more approachable.
Do you mind if I tee off that? Because
Sure. These were pretty specific, so
No,
but that's what I felt like we're trying to do here.
I love that. All your edits, I agree with 100%. I even go further, really. So like even for number 3.
Yep.
If it's a budget priority, we can say, improve the methods, improve how we engage with families by investing in new technology. Active sentence. That's what we're doing. That's a priority, right? Wellness. I've read that 5 times, even with your edits. I don't know where that tells us to spend money, right? So that's the other thing. And then for 4, you carved around a little bit, but like the statement of interest SOI isn't really an FY27 budget thing. That's something that's going to happen, right? So we can say for resources, continue to find ways to, improve food service, transportation, custodial by targeted increasing of services. Like that's an active sentence about what we're gonna do with our budget. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I agree with that. You could strike the in conjunction with through middle and high schools because facilities improvements kind of captures that. And then you just leave the last sentence. We were also committed to finding fiscal responsibility to reduce.
Right.
That could be a way to just to,
Can I
I,
interrupt for a
sorry.
second as chair?
Please.
I'm wondering if this is an efficient or effective use of our time. I think some of this could have been done in advance of the meeting because we had this document 2 weeks ago. Or I think we can make a motion to take it off the discussion list for right now. And a non-quorum group could get together to work, if that makes sense.
yeah, I mean, before we didn't do that. So the only way to do this would be right now, an open meeting where everyone's participating in the second
Right,
and final read. But if
Right,
it's
in a
just-
final read, but I
right.
think we're not having a final read right now. What we're having is a sort of in-time workshop that I'm sure like isn't the best use of your like real focus towards editing a document.
And I'm
I'm-
happy to meet with people individually or in small enough groups that it doesn't create forums
Yes,
to workshop and like take your feedback where you have your notes and start the process and continue and.
Sure,
Yeah.
short of that option,
Yeah.
this is when
Yeah,
I found it
agree.
appropriate to
Yeah.
propose those changes. So
Yeah.
that's better, yes.
Yes.
But I didn't, today it was a
Yes.
final read and vote, so I thought, okay, we're gonna have to
Yeah,
address this.
But I think we
now.
can table it. I think you can vote to table it for more revision and work to happen. And then I can bring it back in 2 weeks with changes and edits, and it can be for conversation at that point.
Great.
Because I think while it is still being finalized, we can still have ongoing conversations that start our process as well.
Great, I'd make a motion to that effect.
okay. Before we close out this part of the conversation, there are several comments online that I just want to put together in all of this.
Yourself
And
and Jake
Mr.
haven't.
and Mr. Sequoia.
Yeah, yeah.
I think, as I was coming into this tonight, mostly the two that came out to me as you kind of pointed out were like wellness and community engagement, because I think obviously we can discuss like edits to the language of 1 and 4, but I think the outlays associated with those are pretty straightforward for teaching and learning. It's textbooks, curriculum, that sort of thing. For resources, like it's the building and also the mention of fees, which was important, is something that's there, but more so on those two, I was kind of curious about ways we could describe what the expenditures are, because I think there, you have to think through it a little more.
Mhm.
And maybe, as Mr. Evans was kind of pointing out, the idea of having specific examples, we don't have to go all the way and turn this into like a massive document that's merging and fusing all kinds of other documents that are available together. But I think maybe on those 2 points specifically, it might be worthwhile either to include prior examples that kind of relate to that. Like community engagement, I was thinking an example might be like the newsletter software.
Mhm.
that I know all the principals and you as well use.
Mhm.
That's like a real cost. It's something that probably makes sense to be using, but it's not something that you might immediately have come to mind on that one. So maybe just on those 2 compass points, it might be worth having some examples, but yeah.
And we have some public comments. Victoria Latanzi, 125 Doan Street, who has made 2 comments. Ms. Latanzi, in the interest of time, I'm going to merge both of those. And hopefully that's okay with you. She writes, I fully agree with Mr. Evans. I would very much like to have more tactical deliverables within our priorities, but doesn't have to be granular. I'm happy to help with this effort. Thank you. And then she would also like to understand if these compass points are in order of importance. So thank you, Ms. Latanzi. We've heard your interest in more deliverables, and are the compass points in order of importance, or are they the order in which they have usually been presented
The order in which they're presented in the strategic plan,
in the strategic plan?
not in order of
Yeah, the answer
importance.
is no.
So no. Ms. Cassandra Dragon Archambault writes, I agree with community member, committee member Evans. I think the word that may be missing is measurable or actionable. Before adopting the 25 minutes, please make the following change. Lombardi is incorrect. Replace with Dragon Archambault. Below is the excerpt that needs correction. And it lists that correction. And
Was that a
basically, it's it seems as if, and Ms. Archambault, Dragon Archambault, please let me know if I'm not understanding this correctly, but she would like to make a correction to our minutes, that she is listed as Cassandra Lombardi in our minutes, that we are going to approve later in this meeting. And her name, that what's being attributed to her is not her correct name.
Do we want to, for any minutes edits, we typically, at least my other boards, we say if there's any edits to the minutes, have them sent to the chair who's not present right now, and then he can correct them and make it. But if it's such a small thing and you're happy to reply.
I'm here.
No, not the chair, the secretary.
Yeah.
My
yeah.
apologies.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, we can let Mr. Dial know to connect with you, and we will note that. Thank you. That's a nice order of procedure.
And especially if there's any edits at all, right? The secretary is there to hear from the community and make changes because we want our minutes to be reflective of what was discussed in the meeting. They're not a transcript, but it's important.
Okay. I'm also going to share budget timeline. As this is on the agenda for a vote as well. It was presented last meeting, so happy to address any questions and would request a vote.
Well, I have a question. So are we going to move to table as Superintendent Shannon suggested? And if so, then we need to address the November 5th entry.
We would.
Yeah. So maybe table both and we revisit both. Because we'll have to change when we approve the priority.
Is there a motion to table the budget priorities and the FY 27 budget calendar for the purpose of some reworking and representing at our next meeting?
So
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Roll call vote. Mr. Evans?
Mr. Evans, aye.
Mr. Spotsy?
Aye.
Mr. McCollum?
Aye.
Johnski, aye.
Okay. So I do want to begin a discussion about capital request tonight. It is our first conversation about it. It is meant to be a conversation starter, and I'm definitely looking for your input and your feedback. When I arrived in the district, the process for coming up with what our capital items and capital requests were very disjointed, or was very disjointed. And I think each year I've been a part of this process has become more cohesive. We now meet with the leadership team to hear requests and to look at what requests have been in existence. And then we bring our Department of Technology, Instructional Technology, along with facilities into the conversation as well. And then we have a full picture of all of the requests across the entire district. And that has been leading to some really fruitful conversations amongst departments, and a much more collaborative approach, which I've greatly appreciated. I've appreciated the collaboration with Ron and Nick from IT and facilities respectively, and look forward to that continued work. What I'm going to share with you tonight is a full list of all of the requests. It is not what is going to go to capital. But I do think it's incredibly important that we consider all of the requests that are made and determine which of those requests are our priorities to move forward to capital in this year. One of the other things that has existed is that we have been a piece of a larger spreadsheet on a 10-year capital plan from the town, but we've not had our own necessarily updated, because there was an older version, an updated multi-year plan. And I am going to propose that we actually have our own plan that rolls then into the town capital plan, the long-term plan for the town. Because I think that it's important to look at the broad picture while we're looking at the immediate future as well. And so some of what I will share with you in terms of our requests that are for this year will, we know, end up in different years on that longer term plan. But I think the other part of that is the importance of recognizing that it's a need for multiple years, and that it's not something that drops off, shows when we're ready to finally do it, that it's something that we have been requesting for many years, and that is really important to us, so that when we're ready to move it forward to capital in that budget cycle, that we are saying that now is the time, even though we've known it was an upcoming concern. So I'm going to share with you where we are currently and talk through some of what we have. So last year, we worked really closely with the capital planning board to look at our buses and to get that work in order. And that was a really great conversation, and we're greatly appreciative to the capital committee for taking on our entire bus lease costs. And so our bus leases in total going into next year, because we will have 10 buses, we had 10 buses, we still have 10 buses. They look different because one was an electric bus last year, all 10 are diesel buses currently. And the total cost of that lease, all of the leases, is $196,236. We also are in year one of a multi-year lease for a multi-use vehicle. That is the vehicle that we use for athletic trips. It is the vehicle we use. I have seen, because it's right outside my office, I have seen kids get on it and go down to CSCR or go to Holly Hill in the middle of the day. And I can tell you that it's getting a lot of use, actually. And so the cost of that lease is $22,000 approximately. We are also looking to complete year 4 of 4 for the installation of interactive boards at the Deer Hill and Osgood schools. In year 1, all of the interactive boards were put into place at the middle school. Year 2 at the high school. This year we did half of Deer Hill, half of Osgood. Next year we'll complete the cycle and we will have full installation of interactive boards at all 4 schools. And one of the questions that has come up in this process that we're still exploring is what's the lifespan of those boards, so that we can plan out, you know, if it's 10 years and what's the replacement cycle. We need to make sure that on our capital plan we have that in place. Last year, we also went to the capital planning board with security enhancements. There was a recognition that while we have cameras and security in place, there were places where it needed to be enhanced. It wasn't that we were replacing many pieces. We did replace a few that had reached the end of their life or were not functioning, but really we were enhancing it and adding to what we had because of identified needs. Those needs were more than what we could or felt was appropriate to request in year 1. So we will be requesting the remainder of those enhancements for year 2 this year. We're still working in different folks are working on getting these costs, but I think it's important to start a conversation on window shades. This is something that we talked about last year that is continuing to come up this year. Window shades in all 4 buildings, some of them are functional, some of them are not functional at all. And window shades, while it doesn't sound like a big deal, they actually are important for both security and comfort and energy savings. Efficiency is the word I'm looking for. Thank you. And so there's been a lot of work done to establish which shades need to replace, which ones need to just be fixed. Nick from facilities is working to figure out where our greatest needs are. And we had a conversation together about making that a multi-year investment as well. And holding off for right now on the secondary level until we know a little bit more about where we stand with the MSBA, but starting at either Osgood or Deerfield, or depending on what the costs are, we might propose that we do what needs to be done at both of those in year 1. In terms of athletics, the football, if you've been to the football field, you'll notice that the football uprights are not actually upright. They're a little bit tilted and they are in need of replacement. And so that is something that has been requested at the high school level. We did have a conversation about some of these athletic enhancements because they impact the turf with regard to the potential building project. And we did talk about the fact that in an ideal situation, and we'll know by the time we really are moving forward with capital, we'll know where we stand a little bit more with the MSBA process. But when we did the feasibility study last year, only one of the options presented had work happening on the field. All of the other options presented preserved that field during construction. And so the thought was, if we moved forward with a project that did not impact that field would stay even after a project, probably 99%. And that it would be a worthwhile investment because it would continue to be there and support the teams until all the way through the project. So that is a request. In addition, the fence at the field is broken. There are parts that don't close. It is a concern when we have athletic events that people walk in when they're not supposed to be inside the gates during sporting events. It's something that has come up multiple times. So that is something that is a request to just fix the part where the fence is truly broken. And so the most up-to-date estimate for that is just under $10,000. The other thing our fields are lacking are the permanent netting on the ends at the end zones. And that is for safety purposes, so that if you are walking around the track or kids are playing in the end zone areas outside of the field during games, it's a layer of protection for those spectators. Most fields have those. And it's something that would benefit not just our high school sports, but all of our youth sports as well, who use our fields all at night, on weekends, all year long. If you've ever been to a soccer game or a lacrosse game and you've seen the balls go flying, those nets really keep other people from being hit. And then for many years here, we've been talking about an athletic storage shed, because right now all of our athletic equipment is just out in the elements. We have a little shed, but not everything fits. This would be a larger shed that protects all of our athletic equipment and extends its life as well. We have had some conversation that has begun with some members of CPC, and there's a little bit of a question as to if they may also be able to help support the netting and the athletic shed cost. So I will continue to learn more about that. And then our visual and performing arts department has several needs as well. Our performance risers, that is what our choral singers stand on during concerts and other performances. They are becoming a safety concern. They are not ADA compliant. This request would replace those risers. They would be safe. They would be ADA compliant, and they would last for years and years to come. That cost is just under 13,000. Our art display boards, so if you've ever come to one of our arts nights, you may not notice the boards behind the art because you're focused on the wonderful art that our students create, but they are falling apart. Our art teachers sort of finagle and fix and make them work, but they are really at a point at which they need to be gone, and new art display boards need to be brought in their place. And so they have asked for a replacement at the cost of $6,000. And they are also looking our timpani and bass drums, which are instruments that our students don't own. They are instruments that are sort of permanently here because of their size, and we provide to those students who play them. They also are at the end of their lifespan. And so the ask is that they be replaced at the cost of just under $17,000. That is something, you know, and part of the conversation with the visual performing arts department that we are going to be having is what is the most pressing need, what might be a need for that we can push off to next year. How can we make this less of a 1 year request and more of a maybe 2 or 3 year request? Principal Scopoletti has come forward with an idea to solve some problems that exist at the middle school. Right now, all of our counseling department is spread out throughout the building. Our guidance counselor's office is in the main office. It is a very public space where students who may be upset are sitting, waiting to be seen, and parents are coming through, other students are coming through. There's very little privacy. One of our counselors, her office, she shares it with a hot water heater. And so we are making use of all of the spaces. However, they're not ideal for our students and their counseling needs. And at the same time, our language lab is not getting used at the middle school because the teachers are able to use the devices that are in classrooms for their language lab needs. And our STEM teacher, Mrs. Lantier, is in a space that is not conducive to her STEM programming as well. And so Principal Scopoletti's idea, and he did work with Nick Berardi from facilities on this, is to take the language lab, turn that into the STEM lab, and then take the current STEM classroom and turn that into a counseling space. Because it already has some office spaces in there. It would allow for our students to have a counseling area where they can get their needs met. Our counselors would have space to work with more than just one-on-one students. They could actually work with small groups in a space that is conducive to that. And so while this cost is pricey, I think it has a lot of benefits. And as we continue to learn more about the MSBA process, it's something that I think we need to consider whether it's imminent or pushed out or not. But I think it's a very interesting solution to several problems that we currently have at the middle school with regard to space. We have been talking, I guess since before I took this position, about the resurfacing of the roads and sidewalks between Deer Hill and Osgood. Last year, we talked with the Capitol Board about this request. It is an incredibly expensive request. The price that you see there, the $1 million plus, is a price that Brian Joyce from DPW has secured for us. It only does exactly that. It resurfaces the driveway, the parking, and the sidewalks. It doesn't enhance anything. And in conversation with Brian, he has said that, like, in the next couple of years, we really need to do something there. That it's getting to the point where he can't, in his department, can't keep just band-aiding the issues. And in our conversations, we also talked about the traffic flow and some other things like a lack of parking that we need to address, because if anyone has been there on a very busy day at the elementary school with cars that line both sides of that drive between Deer Hill and Osgood, you can't really get a safety vehicle down there. And so there are real problems with that circulation. So I'm actually meeting with the folks from Safe Route to Schools tomorrow morning, because they have a service where they will come in and help think about a redesign and then help get us some estimates for what that would look like. So this is an ongoing item that we actually don't anticipate moving forward for this FY 27, especially because we're doing the roof and we can't do both projects at the same time. But it is an ongoing need that we want to make sure is on everybody's radar each year, because when we are ready to do it, it's going to be something that Brian Joyce says that, like, we can't keep fixing this road. Nick Berardi brought this one to us. This was new in talking about the clocks across the district, and that they are all failing. They are all old technology. A lot of them don't say the right time all the time. And it's becoming a lot for him and his department to upkeep them. We did talk about the expense of them. He is getting quotes for them. He's going to determine for us if it makes more sense to do one school at a time or to do elementary and then secondary. And then I think I missed one. Did I miss the ongoing furniture requests? So in my conversations with Capital last year around upgrading furniture in the schools, they suggested, and I agree, that we have a recurring furniture replacement line item for about $35,000 each year. Deer Hill has all brand new classroom furniture. They have several spaces other than classrooms have been updated. They have a few left to complete their process. And last year we did the Babane room here at the high school, and we did a few other spaces at the middle school. And with that funding, we'd also like to start creating some model classrooms in terms of furniture at the secondary level. Anything that would be purchased at the secondary level would be either something that we would take with us into a new building, or would help update furniture in another space, should we get a new facility. So those are the requests that we currently have. We have started, I'm going to see if this works. Yep. To draft out all the way through FY 32, because we know, in talking with the IT department, for example, that starting in FY 29, looking at the replacement cycle for our Chromebooks and our iPads, that's when we're going to need to start thinking about that. So that will come on the docket as replacement in capital items. We have started to look at turf fields last 10 years. In FY 32, the turf field at Alumni Field will be 10 years old. It doesn't necessarily mean that it will have to happen in FY 32. However, we want to be prepared for that and predict that. So we're really starting to capture all of those items and get ahead of them now, so that we can be thoughtful about our capital planning moving forward. So I would ask for your comments, your questions. thoughts on what you're thinking could be moved to different years so that I can then bring that back, continue to have this evolve before I come back to you with a next version of this and the next draft of it.
Mr. Evans.
Want to go reverse? Because I've got a lot to say and I don't want to take up all the oxygen like I did last time. It's up to you.
We can go in reverse. Mr. Squadrio?
Yeah, I think one thing that really jumped out to me, and an idea that I liked when you spoke about it, was the STEM and counseling changes. I think my only question, and I don't really remember if it was on the middle school side, but I think the STEM lab was kind of close to the entrance. Maybe I'm not remembering it. So I didn't know if that would, but I also thought about the space of that room, and it definitely would be like a more private setting. And also the language lab, like definitely not being a space that is being used anymore. I would be surprised if it's, all still there because everybody has their own devices at school. So that was just my flavor on that. Just like a small like logistical thing, I actually don't have access to a few of the documents that are linked. Anything on like a Google Drive, I haven't had problems with, but when it links directly to like a Google Doc or something. I just
Okay.
haven't been-
Mr. McClellan?
I just suggest that the first four are, I think, no brainers. They're items that I think we have to prioritize on the list. And then, with regards to the football uprights, I wonder, do they need to be replaced or do they need to be reset? Because we just had that turf field done. They were part of that project. They were taken up, obviously, as part of when they were putting that down, or at least they were somehow modified or there's work done right around them. So I wonder if there's any sort of warranty on the turf field and whether or not that would fall into the warranty, because I can't imagine that when they finished that field, our uprights were slanted.
I will double check, but I do believe that they were not addressed at that time.
Okay, well, let's check, because if they were already slanted and then we just left them that way, okay, that's one
I
thing.
believe that's the case,
But-
but I will double
All
check.
right, well, let's check on that.
Yeah.
I think that the CMS STEM and counseling suite renovation may be dependent, as you mentioned, Superintendent Shannon, on what we sort of, I think it's a priority right now, knowing what we know now, but, and we're gonna be submitting the current timeline calls for this to be submitted. The capital requests by the end of this month, fine, but we will probably know by the end of this month or early December whether or not we're invited to the core program. That may adjust our priorities on that current, on that specific issue. You already mentioned that the asphalt resurfacing would be something we'd be doing right now. That is, I think, appropriately designated as a special purpose stabilization fund project, but right now that is completely used up, expended by the Osgood roof. Furniture upgrades, I think, are necessary. They're also pretty short money. I think the window shades, it'd be interesting to see how much those are. I think that they're probably a priority. I don't see the turf field fence or the netting being a priority. Maybe the athletic storage shed, because not only is the equipment outside, it's also left in various places on the turf. And the weight of that can create impressions or indentations that don't fully reform if they're left in the same place too, and that can damage our turf and also make it an uneven and unsafe playing field. I'm not saying this has happened, I'm saying it can happen, it's just left there. The performing arts and visual arts items, fairly short money, $34,000 approximately total, so I feel like if we need to replace those things, it's probably going to be something that we're going to be able to afford to do. So those are my thoughts on those. Oh, the clocks. Do we need them? I mean, do we need clocks anymore? Do we? And if we do, are these all hardwired?
Yes.
So can we just replace the hardwired with going and get a bunch of clocks that you hang on the wall?
No,
Oh, no.
no, we tried it, Susan tried it, but we've tried, but, then they're not synced and it's
And
a
you have
mess.
teachers letting, we're gonna let, my clock says this, so I'm letting my kids out. Their clock doesn't say it's time to go.
But it's an alarm, right? It's like the bell goes off, so that would be.
No, not
I'm
at the office.
just, and I'm just sharing from my perspective of having lived in schools for a very long time, that it creates some chaos.
So why do we need them in each classroom? But teachers all have, like, they're probably all
But
looking at.
everybody, well, so that everyone's on the same system and that everything is visual for everyone. So,
Kids do watch the clock and like to see what.
But do they need to? I don't know. I guess, I mean, I guess if it's something we need and you're saying as educators, we need the clocks, I feel like they're kind of like an antiquated, it's like, I don't know. I mean, do we need clocks? I mean, teachers all have their phones. I'm guessing they're looking at the phones at the time. The
And
kids
phones
don't
are
need to know what
network
time it is. They should be paying attention to what's
I
going
would-
on in class.
I would want to see how much it costs. I'm not familiar with
Yeah.
it. It could be unexpectedly cheap, but it also seems like one of those things that could cost a lot of money.
Unexpectedly
just for
expensive.
clocks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that it could.
But I
They're
also-
hardwired.
I also know that it can lead to chaos because like there would be days when the bell, which was synced to the clock, it wouldn't work, and then every class ended 3 minutes early that
Yeah.
day. So that is true, but I know that they're also, it just feels like one of those things that I don't think we want to spend 400,000 or 500,000. Like it's, it
Yeah.
would just be frustrating.
No.
That is just my random guesstimate because I don't know what clocks would cost.
And
but-
I know that you're saying everybody has a phone, but if the way I taught, I very rarely was sitting at my desk and I'd be standing around and I'd look at the clock and be like, okay, we have 5 minutes left.
Yes.
Da, da, da. And if I have to go to my desk to constantly look and see what time it is, that creates a very different teaching environment.
All right, well, as I think, was just mentioned, I think that,
Yeah.
the cost is, we don't know what that is yet, so I don't know. My first reaction was to, we don't do this anymore. So those are my thoughts on the capital cost.
Would you like to go last, Mr. Evans?
Do you?
I'll be brief. I'm actually wondering if our window shades fit into the security enhancements. I mean, I know they can also be separated out, but if there's any reason to put them together, that might be interesting. I also agree with the athletic storage shed of all of the athletic pieces. As a very close neighbor of the high school, it makes me super sad to see equipment outside, rain, shine, summer, winter, spring, fall, because I know that there's also that environmental wear and tear on things that do end up needing to be replaced, like goals and balls and this, that, and the other thing. I think we also run into, because we have just such a nice public place to play and to practice, that sometimes the equipment gets used and perhaps misused. And again, shortening its life and the responsibility for its replacement is on the district. I am always in support of our performing arts. And I think if we had to prioritize two, I'd do the risers and the band instruments, because those can come with us should there be a major renovation or rebuild of the school. The counseling suite, I absolutely love that idea. I love the idea of small groups being able to meet. I know counselors oftentimes like to get groups of kids together, and this provides a nice private place. It also allows for teachers and counselors to meet in with a little bit more privacy for counselors to meet together. I think that's great. Again, would be contingent on on what we hear from the MSBA. The clocks, let's get a little more info. I mean, I think it's good for everyone to know how to read a clock, which doesn't necessarily exist as a skill anymore in some of our children. Those are my comments. I wonder too, in looking at the long-term plan, whether or not it makes sense for subsequent years to this year for those static items like bus leases to add some sort of 2%, and someone with a mathy background could say what sort of percent increase we might anticipate in those lease costs over time, or whether or not those leases are frozen leases because they're 5-year leases.
They're
Okay,
frozen.
so I think then we're all set with that. That was just a thought that I had in terms of changing costs over time. All right, thank you, Mr. Evans.
Madam Chair,
Oh,
before Mr. Evans goes, may I just make a point of information? Just because you already know this, but community members may see me leave. It's because I have an important family commitment
Yes.
that I need. It's very difficult to reschedule. So had to happen on a Wednesday and it's difficult to reschedule. So I'm just, when people see me leave early,
Yes.
it's because of that. So just wanted to make that clear because it's probably going to happen while Mr. Evans is speaking and it had nothing to do with.
Are you saying I'm going to talk for 10 or 15 minutes?
I don't know.
And our thanks to Mr. McClellan for being here when he does have other obligations, personal obligations going on this evening as well, and making both of those things happen, because it is hard to do. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so to your point, I think for like a line item like the furniture requesting ask, we should do 2.5% adder. So the select board passed the informal, I don't know if they made a formal budget policy that the capital stabilization fund gets increased by 2.5%, which is in line with Prop 2.5, which is, kind of a baseline. So if we have a recurring ask that isn't a lease where we know the costs, but it's just for like furniture, we should be just adding 2.5% to that every year, just so that it's the same part of the budget. I do think we should break, to that end, we should break this up always into recurring things. Like, so number one, things that are a lease that we've already committed to, we can't get around, right? The automatics. Line two is any things that are multi-year projects like the furniture, but also the smart displays or whatever where, okay, we're in year 3 or 4. So it's important as we go through to have context of these are musts. We can't not do them because they're leases. These are things that are part of a larger project, so it's not out of nowhere. So just to separate that out for understanding.
Are you thinking like just highlighting them in a different color? Because it appears that that's how they're set up.
I would break them up into separate spreadsheets.
Okay.
So separate tables, my apologies. Just to have very clean, these are recurring or these are already encumbered through a commitment we've made to a leasing organization. And these are repeated requests or projects that are the 3 or 4, 4 or 4. And then under that, we have, I think we need to, we have the request for this year, right? The new stuff. And I think it's important because we need to be sure that the things that are at the top 2 tables, those are non-negotiables, those have to be done. And that way we're playing small ball at the bottom. I have really kind of comments on really all of these. I don't know if we want to spend this meeting here. I'm happy to do it here, or if we want to punt that back. But I know how the capital process goes. I know what these go through. I can see, kind of what issues we're going to run into. For instance, like the STEM counseling suite renovation. We have a 5-year plan. That way we don't all of a sudden have a $72,000 request that comes that comes unexpectedly. And then we'll bump other priorities. That's why you have a 5-year plan, because you say, listen, we have these things we've already identified. If we're talking about going to MSBA and we're having all these other things, I don't think that's something that we want to entertain in a way that would cause us to lose a different priority. So that is one which I would probably just not support because it is brand new, and typically any kind of real like facility request, if it's not repair, there's usually more than one cycle we have to go through. I think we can bring it up as a next year goal. I think it's good to put it on the plan, but it really shouldn't be for this year. Security enhancements, the cameras. I'm personally not a huge surveillance guy, and I did my best to kind of not get into that, but I would like to hear more about it because it is a large dollar figure. And if we're going to be asking for this amount of money, also, we have to be aware that it's not just a one-time cost. Like, these are cameras that will fail in 5 or 10 years. So we are actually buying something that's going to increase our costs as we go. So I would like to learn more about exactly what those get us for the expense. The band instruments, I would love to see that come from a donation from the community. I don't know if we've ever bought band instruments with capital funding before. That's kind of seems incongruous. So I think that's something where we have a lot of really good artistic talent in this town. I think we can probably make a few phone calls and get those things sponsored. because I do think that's going to be something where if the capital budget's weighing whether we, repair an ambulance or we get some drums, we're going to lose that battle. So this is how it is. For the asphalt road, that one, I kind of want to take that off the sheet completely. That way it doesn't scare people. And that's something where, as you said, it has to be a larger conversation about redoing the whole plan. And there's no budget that can absorb this by one. We have to build a consensus across multiple districts of town to get this done. So that should be like a long-term thing where we're having conversations about what that looks like. It shouldn't be in an FY27 total because it just blows up the total. Also, just for there's only about $800 to $1 million that really we could ever get because we already eat through about half of it. So whatever else we request has to kind of fit in there. There we go. And then I think athletic storage shed, we need a number, right? If we're putting all these things in, it's probably going to be a pretty big shed. It could be a big number, but I also think we should figure out how much the equipment costs to see if is a shed $25,000, the equipment's only 10, right? Like there's a question there. And again, when we build a shed, what happens after 10, 15 years? It falls down. We have to replace it. So we want to be sure that if we're going to add an asset, it is going to have a payback, and it's not going to cause something in the future where now we have a shed that's falling down on somebody because we haven't planned for the other stuff. Uprights seem broken to me. I noticed that. I think that's one thing we say, that's priority one. We need this year. CPC, I hope that's great. Sometimes they get a little bit prickly about school stuff, but they can do it. And then the fencing, though, has been something which has been a repeated ask for a while and has been broken. But that's why we do things repeatedly. Like, hey, we noticed it was broken 3 years ago. It's still been broken. Now it's time to elevate that. It's to say, hey, these have been broken for a while. We've waited. Let's get it done this year. And that's for every one of these requests. And we put them on the plan. We have to say, like, there's going to be a time where we do it. And, maybe that's this year. And then the clock thing, I thought we did clocks in 2019. I seem to recall there was expenditure for that at some point. Do you remember this, Dr. Scollins?
I gave in 1920, so.
Okay, 1920? Been here a long time. You look great.
But I don't, they could have purchased the ones with the battery. Because those are the ones hanging, those are the ones.
Can we do some?
Nick didn't mention that, so I
Yeah.
should go back to Nick and ask.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Student perspective, I do remember that the bell sounds changed my freshman year, which would have been 18-19.
Yeah, so maybe they
So I
did do
think
something.
Something, it was PA
Some-
versus
Yeah.
clock.
I wasn't on the school committee then, so I can't.
you missed an opportunity.
But something happened with the clocks that year.
And then I think what you first said, Superintendent Shannon, about having conversations where, because our requests come from both inside the building and also outside the building, right? There's a 5-year plan that Nick at facilities, Nick is our facilities director in town, and the town facilities department handles our buildings. So there's a list of requests he has that we need to know about, and we should put it on another tab, which you've already been doing.
Yeah,
Yep.
so these include his requests.
Gotcha. Same thing with IT. I'm glad that you've
These include-
correct. So
yes.
those are things where I wonder if we have like a tab where it's like our requests, IT requests, and we have like, 3 5-year plans that are kind of actively. That seems to be where you're going.
So yes and no.
Okay.
I actually don't see their requests as separate. I understand that they make the requests, but they're still school requests because they impact the schools.
But we don't author them originally.
So for the facilities ones, we do. Actually, the ones for the school, I have been authoring. I authored them last year. And
But Nick has his own list of, if you like talk.
So I have talked with Nick.
No, that's great. If you
Yeah.
want to own that, because typically
Yes.
he owned it.
And
If
I
you want to have it come
actually
to your
have
office, it's
asked
great.
Ron to
Okay.
share them with me
Gotcha.
because I feel it's very important that they are part of our requests as well.
Wonderful.
And
Okay.
that we have full access to those requests because if they live as something separate, then it feels very separate. We are a school building and they are doing work that's in support of our school district.
Yes.
But it really needs to be considered as part of the whole school requests. I feel very strongly about that.
I fully support that. I think that's wonderful because if we do it that way, we'll address what my concern has always been, which is kind of this, who's making this request? Is it IT? Is the schools? And there's been for years, a very kind of circular process about keeping track of these things and who's owning them. And I think if your office has the bandwidth and you're willing to, I think that's great, and it solves that problem and takes care of that concern. So thank you. Okay. I can keep talking, but I'm gonna stop. So that's kind of.
Thank you. We do have a public comment from Victoria Latanzi, 125 Doan Street. One additional request for clarification is if the counselors can use the proposed space without renovating. Thank you.
So the answer to that is no, because the council, there's not enough space for each counselor as it is to have their own office. And counselors need to have privacy, so part of this renovation would create additional offices within that room. There are 2 that exist now. This would create more so that every counselor has their own office space.
Further comments or questions? All right, this will be an ongoing topic for the school committee and for the work that our administration is dedicating a lot of time to. We appreciate the public engagement and the engagement of all of our committee members. We will move on to community relations and communication. Are there any reports from school committee, subcommittees, and liaisons? I have none. Mr. Squadron? Mr. Evans?
On the town side, just the news which we heard at town meeting is that our town managers of the select board liaison, I'm just going to share it here, is that the town manager, Chris Senior, has announced that at the end of this year, he will be departing Cohasset. And we have an interim town manager, Michelle Leary. So I'm looking forward to, as we go through our budget priority processes, re-engaging with all the people that are now in, have done the shuffle and, ensuring that we are, continuing to make the progress we have been in previous years.
Thank you. That's great. Then let's move on to H, which is school committee governance. We do not have any topics not reasonably anticipated by the chair this evening. We do have the approval of minutes. Mr. Evans, would you recommend that we hold on the October 8th, knowing that we have a request to make an edit? Or do we approve knowing that edits can be made after?
If you're comfortable just making a motion to approve with that one edit, I don't remember what the edit was. I'm happy with that. Yep.
Okay.
But again, as a system, as a matter of process, typically, I would advise the public, if there's any edits whatsoever, to just reach out and send them to both yourself and the secretary. That way, when we get them in front of us, we have all the corrections done.
Sure. Thank you.
I would just add, I was listed as the, is it representative or liaison for the high school council? But we didn't decide on that. Is that?
No, we didn't. Thank you. And is that in the October 8th?
Yes.
Yeah. The October 22nd had a change as well. All right, so these will be complicated motions, but I'm gonna do it and we're gonna do them both at once, so bear with me. All right, I am looking for a motion to approve the minutes of October 8th, 2025 with a note that we will change the sentence or remove the sentence that indicates that Mr. Jake Squatrito is the liaison to Cohasset High School. I'm also moving to approve within the same motion, the minutes from October 22nd, 2025, and we will change the name Cassandra Lombardi, who was a guest and was speaking, to Cassandra Dragon Archambault.
I think both of those edits were in the October 8th minutes, if I'm not mistaken.
Thank you. Let me go back to the Q&A. So our only change are to the minutes. I'll create a new motion. Here we go. Is anyone still watching? This is great.
To say so.
Our new motion is to approve 2 sets of minutes, one being October 8th, 2025, with 2 changes. One, that Jake Squatrito is not the liaison to Cohasset High School, and that the name Cassandra Lombardi should read Cassandra Dragon Archambault. We are also approving the minutes from October 22nd, 2025, as previously shared.
So move.
Second.
Thank you. Vote, Mr. Evans?
For Evans, aye.
Mr. Squartrino?
Aye.
Jen Leske, aye. All right, thank you. We do have a reason to move into executive session tonight under reason 3 to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining. We will not be returning to public meeting. Do we still? So sorry. Thank you, Ms. Latanzi. That was, thank you. It's getting late. Ms. Latanzi, for the record, just said you're doing great, Chair Leske, so I appreciate that vote of confidence. So we do have a reason to move into executive session. We will not be returning into an open session, so we will take two motions right now. One is to move into executive session, and the other is to adjourn our open session. Is that right?
And your motion for executive session, would you state the reason?
I did. It is for reason 3.
My apologies, I missed that.
Yeah.
So move.
Second.
All right, all those in favor, Mr. Evans?
For Evans, aye.
Mr. Squartrino?
Aye.
Jen Leske, aye. So we are adjourning this evening's meeting. Thank you, Cohasset, for joining us. And we will continue. We will not be returning. Thank you.